Hello YouTube, Ching Eaton here. We're out in the front pawpaw field. I haven't shown this on videos yet just because I don't get down here that often. I'd say we're about 10 days into bloom here, what I would probably call that full bloom. Almost all the flowers that are going to bloom have at least started, and we have some fruit that has set. There's one little group right there that just set. Most of the flowers are open, and yet you do have some smaller ones here that are just starting. So that's the thing with the pawpaw. They bloom over a period of about a month, maybe even 5 weeks. So this is my front little orchard I put in, and these trees are all the same age, but environmental factors, deer scraping the bark and killing them back. There's a lot of variation as you can look down the row, and you can see some are pretty good size and some are just about little miniature just planted. So what I typically do is once a year in the spring I'll come and I'll do my initial mowing, and then I'll come back and weed whip. I'll scalp that ground all the way down, about a foot circle around here. I haven't done it yet, but other than that, I don't really baby these trees. Now people might tell you that, oh, a pawpaw tree is a hard thing to grow. Well, I found exactly the opposite. All the other fruit trees I planted were hard to grow unless you spray them. And the pawpaw trees, I don't fertilize them. I don't spray them. I rarely water them unless we're having a super drought. Really, once you get them established, they're pretty carefree. So this guy here, he's the biggest in the row. Well, not the biggest. Second biggest. We got some fruit last year. What you'll see sometimes is they'll leave what I call a sprue. I don't know what the real name is, but it's a vestige of last year's fruit that'll be hanging on there. Here we have, I don't know, I'm up high so I can't see what I'm doing, but we have a couple that have set already. Some fruit right here. And in general, like I said before, this is pretty much full bloom. So this will go on for another, 2.5 weeks, and then of course your fruit is going to ripen in the order that it was pollinated, so you get an extended season on the fruit, whether you like that or not. That's what this tree does. You don't come out here and go harvest the crop, because it's going to be at different stages. Now see here, that was a pretty decent sized tree at one point, and the deer came through and ripped it all up, and then it sprouted off the side. So I've got it poorly protected at this point. I need to come back and fix that. That's a mess right there. Oh, poor thing. And I didn't put one here because I have these interspaced with my Chinese chestnut trees. We've got 6 chestnut trees in a row here, and then pawpaws in the rows in between, and then more chestnuts, and then we've got the wild field over there. But what I really wanted to get to was a replacement and kind of the initial care that I give them. This tree here, I dug it out of a row. It's basically a sucker that came from my mature trees, and I'm just going to stick it in the ground here. I've got the hole pre-dug because everybody knows what it looks like to dig a hole. That's not too exciting. So we're going to set her up here, and I'm going to stick it in the ground. We had a toad strangler of a rain last night, so the ground's a little wet to be working, but you got to do what you got to do. Now my transplant here, I've got a little bit of extra root coming down below where I wanted to plant it. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these roots off of here. Now, unlike most trees, pawpaw roots are fairly fleshy. They're not fibrous, so they're easily damaged. That's why I prefer to do my transplanting in the spring as opposed to the fall, where they'll just sit there not growing all winter. They tend to want to rot if you do it that way. So all I'm going to do, put this little transplant in there and see how, oh, it's not too bad. I'll take a little bit of the top off here so I can see what we're getting at. Pretty decent soil here in Hallsville. Just at the bottom of that hole, you're starting to see some clay. Otherwise, we've got about 8 inches of topsoil, I guess. Now, when that settles, that's going to be a little low, so I'm going to stick some of this good soil in there in the bottom. This is a turf situation out here in our orchard. We have grass, obviously, as a ground cover, and the Japanese beetles are a turf-loving insect, so we're never going to get rid of Japanese beetles around here. We're just going to have to deal with them. Unfortunately, they will eat pawpaw leaves. I learned that last year when I hung a Japanese beetle trap in my pawpaw orchard, thinking I'll show them. Now see, there's Japanese beetle larva right there. That little grub, he's going to come out here and damage everything I got. But you can't win, so you just deal with it. So I'm just going to crumble up this ground here and get that side kind of filled in a little bit. Oh. We don't really do anything miraculous or special around here. We just do a lot of it. So, you know, there's another beetle larva. So in a 1 cubic foot or less area, I've already found 2 beetle larvae. You multiply that by 11 acres, you've got probably millions. I'm just going to fill that spot back in. And we are expecting a forecast of nothing but rain for this whole next week. So if I just get this in there a little bit, it's going to go ahead and settle down without me getting too, hands-on about it all. It'll do its own thing. I just got to give it a little bit of a start. I'll get this in there and kind of shove it in there, make sure I don't have any air pockets. Like I said, once you get a pawpaw tree established, they're pretty much carefree. You don't have to baby them like you do a lot of stuff. And that's the reason I started growing them, actually, because I got sick and tired of planting an apple tree and watching everything eat it. And getting a disease and going to the store and they say, oh, you got to spray this on it. And, well, that's only $10, Well, I had enough of that. So we just grow something that actually wants to grow. I'll get that all tucked in there like that. I said if it wasn't going to rain, I might have to get more particular about it, but since it is, I'm going to let nature do the work for me. I'm going to plant it just a little higher than the ground level because I do know that it's going to settle in, and I don't want to have it in a hole when I get her done, when it gets established. So we're just going to fix her up about like that. I'd say there's another little larva there. So I might pile a little extra there. Give something to wash in. And I can use all this other for filling potholes out here because there's plenty of them. When they put this house in, they dug ditches that look like the moon out here. That's all their equipment. We got here. This was a square piece of plastic that came out of that hole. That almost looks like a dice. Matter of fact, I believe it might be a dice. I don't know. That's a a gift. We'll have to see what the heck that ended up being. I have no idea. Well, one thing I do try to do, I've got this little tomato cage here, and I went ahead and cut so that I don't have to try to spread it over the top of things. I can just get it in there and open it up a little bit. Hopefully, anyway, I'm talking big. Just kinda get her opened up and get her around there like that. We're gonna push it down to about there, maybe. Alright. Squeeze her back together a little bit. That's just going to keep the deer from being able to scrape it. They don't want to get their antlers hooked in all that metal, so they get down and they'll just walk away and find something else. Then I got a little tree tube here, and I'll just stick that in there for the rabbits. And for later years, when I come back with a weed whip, then I'm not whacking the bark off. So, like I said, we don't fertilize them. I really don't mow them that often, so they pretty much get them planted, get them growing, and then leave them alone. Pretty carefree tree to grow, actually. So, if you want to fertilize them, they'll take a lot of fertilizer, and you'll get dark green growth, and you know, yeah, they'll do better with fertilizer. I just find it to be an unnecessary expense. And we're organic, so that way, you know, I don't spend that money. Anyway, we probably have, I don't know what, 25 pawpaw trees in this front field, and these were all put in probably over a weekend 6-8 years ago. You can see the difference in the size. It just depends on if something hit them or damaged them or not. So anyway, that's our show for today on getting your transplants, and we thank you for watching.